Hello, beautiful human being. Jeff here, connecting in with you from a park in London. First of all, our whole lives brought us to this moment. How perfect is that? I love to celebrate this by connecting with a deep breath. So would you take a deep breath in with me as we connect even more in this moment? And a clearing breath out. Let's do two more. Full deep breath in. And a smooth breath out. One more time, full deep breath in. Exhale, smooth breath out. Here we are. My life brought me to this moment. How amazing. To creating this video in a park. I chose this. So did you. So I'm in the middle of sharing my story, and I would like to walk and share, connect with nature as I give you more insights from my life, and also hoping to inspire. I've made some big decisions in my life, big transitions, lots of transformation. I'm sharing with you the steps on my path, the things that mattered, what came together, and really the essence of trusting the gut. So the last video I created, I was in a position in life where my mother had passed away, and it left a void even bigger than losing my mother. A part of me that I began to realize, the foundations of the choices I was making, which were based largely upon conditioning around who I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to do. I was an engineer. I was in engineering school. I was there as an academic, and my path was shaped by the very fact that my grandfather, my mother's father, went to the very same school. I had the thought come up in my head, and I gave it attention. The thought was, I never liked any of this anyway. And I was thinking about my career and my path as a student. And it was the first time that I really considered that, because if this is, by the way, the first video you're watching, go back and watch the first one so you're up to date on the videos. This is the third installation of my journey. So I shared with you that I had that thought pop into my head, and I gave it real consideration for the first time in my life. It was the first time a thought like that popped into my head, that I really considered that I don't like this and I have a choice. And that was the big second part of that thought. There was an element, there was a seed of, I can choose differently. So if you remember, also on this path, I have found I discovered the love for health and wellness. And specifically through my own weight loss journey, my own transformation, I found a passion for sharing that with others. And it wasn't until a little bit later that I started doing that. So I was teaching group fitness and wellness classes, and I was still in school as an engineer. My mother passing away was really one of the biggest experiences of my life in terms of a decision, because ultimately I chose to have her sent to hospice in order for her to commence her life in a natural way. So one of the biggest decisions I ever made. And I know that my mother was with me on that choice, because I know that she would not have liked to live in the conditions that she was in. So my mother passing away was an incredible, and still continues to be an incredible, I'm gonna sit down here, transformational journey. Because when we lose a parent, especially a parent that played such a role in foundation, that continues to unravel and play out for many years. It has so in my case, and many layers, many layers, let me tell you. So I had this sense of, okay, I'm still gonna be in school. I have found a new path that I started to enjoy, as in the health and wellness field. What do I do with this engineering degree? And there was still a lot of pride and a lot of ego wrapped up into my engineering degree. And also it was fearful. It was very scary to choose something else, to choose something aligned with my passion. So I didn't even entertain the idea until a couple of years later. What I did experience was one of the best, in a sense, with all the experiences I had dealing with the passing of my mother. I did have a very nice time, about 8 months shortly after she passed, where I was working at a running shoe store and I was connecting with people over my passion for running. And it was around this field of health and wellness, and I loved it. And I was also going to boot camp classes all the time and still teaching the spin classes. And I had finished my course. My degree was done, and I had decided that I was going to start a master's degree at this point. And so I had this 8-month transition period, which was very nice, and I really fell in love with that. And it gave me more evidence that I could be doing what I wanted to be doing. And I waited before one last crack in my egg, in the shell of my egg. And that occurred, when did that occur? That occurred around a year later, year and a half later. So I eventually went to France to study a master's degree in my field of study, which at the time was materials science engineering. And it was finally the time where I absolutely met the most intense resistance from within to continuing that path. And it was such an intense resistance. And this is where I would like for this to be of value to you. Is there something in your life that you're resisting intensely, that you're banging your head up against the wall, that it feels hopeless? That's how I felt with engineering. And the quality with which I used to be a student no longer was there, because I had found this other thing I was passionate about. And coincidentally, while I was living in France, I was studying my master's degree in France. Yes, it was in English. A lot of people ask, do I know French? No. I built a community. I started a community around fitness, and I was teaching group fitness classes. I had a friend teaching yoga classes. I was doing running club, and all of these things that I love to do. Because it wasn't there, I created it, and it was really special. I loved it. And one day, and this is the biggest decision I ever made in my life, because I can see clearly how this decision led to a clear split in my path. One day I was coming back from home. I was coming back from, the campus, the university campus, and my head was in such a terrible headspace where I was very negative, and I was looking down, and I was dwelling on the situation I had gotten myself into, barely passing my classes, not having any idea what's going on in my classes. And then I look up and over to the right, and there's the soccer field, the football pitch, the green, where I was giving the boot camp classes, where we were having the fitness classes. We were having so much fun. And it was this huge transition, like a ripping of fabric. It was going from quite sad and gloomy to happy and optimistic. And it was in that moment that I stepped into the fork in my road, and I made the decision. I mean, honestly, within minutes, this realization came upon me, and within minutes, I knew where I was going. I was going to quit the master's degree program I was enrolled in, and I was going to start a career in health and wellness, and I was going to do it in the great city of London, which I coincidentally am in right now, 7 years later, 8 years later, a little bit more than 8 years later. I'm thinking about the dates. It's very close to 8 years ago. The kids are, let's see if I can see those kiddos. I don't know if you can hear the kiddos, but they're making lovely noises. So yeah, I had this big experience within me where I recognized this is something that's causing me a great deal of suffering, and it feels out of alignment. Here's the thing that I've started doing that feels really good, really in alignment. Now, I'm telling you my story so that you can connect with me deeper, and also, like, what is this in your life? Are you experiencing any of this in your life? And what is the possibility of considering stepping towards growth, stepping towards possibility? I stayed as an engineer out of fear. I stayed conditioned because of my conditioning, because it was who I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to do, what I invested all my time and energy. So I had pride and ego wrapped up into it, and money too, believe me. And it was also that this is what I know. This is what's going to give me job security. This is what I can see a pathway in. The other one I didn't know. It was completely into the unknown. And yet, I knew what I had to do. That choice, that day, sometime in April 2014, I would say, was one of the most significant choices in my life, because I can put a pin in that moment and trace it all the way to where I am now. Because I chose London, and I chose London because I was in France and I visited a friend in the UK and in London, and I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the fitness scene here. There's lots of group fitness. There's a lot of buzz in this city, a lot of energy. And I decided I'm going to go to London. I'm going to teach group fitness classes, and I'll figure it out from there. I went to London, and it was those kinds of decisions. What's really potent and really cool to know about this is when I made that decision, everything started working in my favor. I needed to get a visa to go to London. I needed to apply to a different school to get said visa in London. I had to figure out where that school was. There was a lot of things I didn't have figured out, but I knew, I decided, I was fully in. I'm going to go live in London, and I'm going to teach group fitness classes. Everything started going in my favor. The wind was blowing at my sails. And at this time, so there's other threads in this story. There's other layers that I'm skipping over. I was very sad and very empty, a lot to do with my coursework, and I was definitely looking for answers. How do I fill this void? I still have to talk to you about my relationship with food and health, which evolved because I did lose a lot of weight, and then I got into a dysfunctional relationship with food and health. That's going to be in the next video, so that one's worth sticking around watching. I'll say this, I'll leave it here. Within 3 days of moving to London, I walked into the House of Yoga, and that is the yoga studio where my whole life changed. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it for the next video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. My question to you is, are there big callings in your life that you are avoiding because it's not in the realm of what you know? Are you avoiding it because there isn't certainty? Are you sticking with something that keeps you small and contracted and living life in a way that isn't your fullest expression? Are you? I'm asking you, is that your case? What is the possibility of the other thing? What happens if you make a clear decision, an ultimate decision, and go for it? My friend, the universe has your back when you make that kind of decision. The universe has your back. I've got your back too. Thank you for watching this video. This one was interesting. I am out of my comfort zone in a park with lots of people, and I have found about 3 places where I was going to sit and record to be crashed by noisiness. And finally I said, screw it, I'm gonna make the video. And here I am, showing up. So, what is it in your life? I would love to hear. If there's any way I can support you, get in touch. I'll put links to the Jefe Living Collective, my online community for growth and development, down in the description box. I'll also put a link to get in touch with me, and you can have a free coaching session as well if you're interested and serious about coaching and growing, because I would love to support you in this big life transition and going for it. All right, that's it from me today. Thank you for watching. Take care.